And what's going on, Pewter Peeps? Welcome into the all-new Pewter Cast, your favorite spot for your Bucs news analysis, takes, hot and otherwise, and everything else that involves your favorite football franchise, the defending Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is Ren Dex. I'm Steve Carney. It is great to have you here live on YouTube and on Twitter and on the pewtercast.live if you're watching our live stream. It is great to have you along. If you are listening to the podcast version of the Pewtercast, it is great to have you here alongside us as well. And it's great to have everybody with the Fan-Sided Nation along for the ride. Also, of course, the Pewtercast is the official podcast of the Fan-Sided Network. Ren, it's great to see you, Ren. How was your week? How have things gone? It's been a busy one for you. I know that for sure, with something that we'll be talking about a little later on, rookie minicamp going down.
Yeah, it's I guess, sure. It's like, how do you know I've been busy?
I know
yeah.
you're one of the busiest guys I know outside of all of this that you have to put together, and everything that goes along with the Pewtercast. Of course, Ren is the brains and the mind behind the Pewtercast. I am just the mouth. And on top of everything going on as well, I know you're certainly a busy bee. Before we get into the meat of today's show, because we will definitely be talking about rookie minicamp, plus comments about Bruce Arians' interview that he did earlier this week with John Ledyard and Mark Cook of the Pewter Report. If you did not get a chance to hear that, we will break that down for you here in just a couple of minutes. But I want to talk really here just a couple as I'm hearing myself is Ren is obviously checking to make sure that the YouTube stream is working. All right. I can tell that already. As I've got it up on my phone as well to double check. So you're not alone, Ren, in that case. But
yeah, longtime Pewtercast listeners know that happens often.
Yeah, that sometimes we've got to check to make sure everything is running correctly. This thing doesn't run perfectly. And we've got the comments up if you want to comment here on Periscope or on YouTube.
Hang on one second.
And now people are knocking at Ren's door.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna blab on here while Ren takes a hiatus.
There's an emergency at the Dax household.
There you go. So take care of business there, Ren, and I will continue here on the Pewtercast Live as the lovely Krista obviously needs something here going on right now. So we're going to talk about rookie minicamp. We're going to talk about the interview involving Bruce Arians here in just a moment. But I look at where this has gone on here over the last week or so, and I've got a question for our Pewtercast listeners, and you can always hit us up on the comments here on the live stream. If you want to hit us up on Twitter, you can always hit us up at the Pewtercast. Of course, Ren is at Ren_Dax. I am at Steve Carney. I got a DM this week from a journalist in the United Kingdom, and I'm gonna read this DM here for you because it has to do with
a trampoline emergency like I just had.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it has to do with the perception of the ownership group in this region versus in other regions where the Glazer family might have some sort of influence. So I got
Manchester United.
Yes, I got a DM from a journalist on Monday. Journalist here in Manchester, you probably already know where this is going already. I'm looking to write something on the Glazer ownership of Manchester United. More specifically, I wanted to write about how the Glazers are perceived by Bucs fans after all these years. And I'm curious because the Glazer family perception,
sure,
it has gone through a roller coaster ride over the last, 20 plus years that this family has owned the team.
Right.
Because for me, I remember hearing about the initial sale from Hugh Culverhouse to the Glazer family in the late 90s, and everything that went on there. Of course, the rise of the Buccaneers up until the first Super Bowl championship with John Gruden.
Mm-hmm.
And then things took a downturn and things dropped off dramatically over the course of the 6 or 7 years after that, when the team went into salary cap hell. And then when Raheem Morris came and was the head coach, and it certainly appeared that the Glazer family weren't willing to spend money on the Buccaneers side because they had so much of it tied up in trying to wrest control of Manchester United away from their shareholders, and their focus went away from the Buccaneers, and I think the Bucs suffered because of it.
Yeah, that was widely reported, and I should say widely reported, but it's been said enough times, and the Glazers nor the Buccaneers organization have come out and denied it. So by this time you got to sort of take it as fact. And there was a couple of things in play. One was that Rich McKay wrote all these huge contracts to keep the defense together, for one last ride, and it's the main reason why after Tony Dungy was fired, we were supposed to get Bill Parcells, and he was all gung-ho, and then someone said, hey, you should look at the salary cap situation. Like, you're going into a great situation now, but in like a year or two, like you won't be able to, all your players will be old and gone, and you won't be able to sign anybody. So it's kind of the reason why Bill has left us the first time, I think it was. Maybe it was the second, I don't know, whenever he did it. But
I think it was the second. The first time was before Dungy. Like they'd fired Sam Weiss, and they wanted to bring in Bill Parcells, and he said yes, and then he said no, and then they turned to Tony Dungy.
Yeah. So but that just happened to coincide with the Glazers buying Manchester United, and I think it's true that all their sort of like cash holdings was at that time was put toward the purchasing Manchester United, and they couldn't spend a lot of money on the Buccaneers. But again, a lot of it was dead cap and just salary cap situations. So I've never really understood why Tampa Bay fans think the Glazers were a bad ownership. Like I can never. People go, oh, they're terrible owners, and then I'm like, well, give me a reason why. And
I think
and they don't have anything.
I think the one thing that you can say is that they put themselves in a situation where the team was non-competitive and unwilling to or unable to make itself better because of the cap situation.
Did they do that, or did Rich McKay do that?
Well, and they're the ownership. Obviously, the buck has to stop somewhere. And
I'm stopping it with Rich McKay.
Well,
I mean, they're not in on the contract negotiations.
But with Rich McKay gone, they were left. They were the ones that were left holding the bag.
Sure.
And so the blame was going to end up on them eventually because they were the ones that were left holding the bag. And so being at the point where they had to turn the attention, and what's hilarious is I remember when the Glazers were looking to wrest control of Manchester United away from their shareholders, and every English soccer fan in the UK hated the idea of the Glazers coming over there already. They were like, oh no, yeah, and not much of a surprise there. And so, when you're non-competitive and unable to make yourself any better, everybody is going to catch a share of the blame, including the ownership group. But then things started to turn around. They started to do the right thing in being able to get some young players and to draft and develop guys like Levante David and Mike Evans and the like. And
they didn't do any of that. It was the GM. That was the GM.
Again, we're talking about the perception of the ownership group.
Okay.
The perception of the ownership group is that they're the ones that hired the GM, and the GM is the one that does all the on-field stuff.
Yeah, they have made some bad coaching hires, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
but I think
tops the list, obviously.
Oh, jeez. That's a no doubt right there. I mean, it's bad when the ownership group and the front office has to tell Schiano that he has to come to our radio station to explain himself to our afternoon drive host, because and do it under cover of night, basically.
Why? Wait, what's that story?
Oh, I thought I've told this story.
Not to me.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess I'm telling the story now. Before we get to our sponsor here this week, I'll tell the story. Steve Dumig, my longtime colleague, the late great big dog here in the Tampa Bay region, was he could be very critical of
yeah, he did doing his job.
Well, there was certainly not a lot of good karma or good feelings between the station and the team when Greg Schiano was the head coach.
No,
and
it didn't start good, because I remember, like, I was like, I was deep listening to 620. That's when it was called 620. WDAE. And Dumig was all over him right away, calling him college, JV type of guy, and all the micromanaging that Schiano did, Dumig was very critical that it's not going to fly in the NFL. And I remember their first interview, Steve asked the question, like, a lot of people are, basically, I'm just paraphrasing again what I just said. He said it to Schiano. And and he's like, a lot of people are calling you college, and he's like, are you? And Schiano was just dead silent for like 2 beats, and he goes, am I what? And Dumig goes, college. And then the interview kind of went normal from there. But yeah, it didn't start off on the right foot. So
well, that was the initial, like about a year later, like things had gotten really, really bad, and I don't know if it was Mark Dominic at the time, or if it was somebody higher up in the Buccaneers organization, but they made Schiano come over to DAE to iHeart and kind of clear the air with Dumig, and it was an interesting situation. Let's just put it that way, because those two guys,
are hard-headed.
Yes, and Schiano thinks that, and he still does think that his way is the only way, and it worked where he was, which was college.
Rutgers, right?
And now seems to have gotten it working again where he is, which is again Rutgers,
right?
So there was a moment where they had, like, Schiano had to come over, and it was in the cover, like they were like, you can't say anything about this. And so, like, we went and we were silent. We went radio silent for a while because of it. But Schiano had to come over, and
so what did he say?
Basically with hat in hand, and be like, yeah, come on, this, and try and explain himself and what he was doing to Dumig, and Dumig wasn't buying any of it. Let's just put it that way. So
the Buccaneers were so worried about what Dumig was saying on the radio, they sent the head coach over to tell him why.
The head coach was so angry because he listened.
Oh,
he listened to critics, and so they're like, and they're like, then go over there. And they were like, then you need to go over there and try and explain. If you're so concerned with what they're saying on the radio, go over there and try and explain yourself to those guys.
Mm.
And he did,
and he couldn't do it like publicly. He had to save face.
Yes, he had to save face.
So there was a rendezvous in a parking garage on level 3.
Yeah, we
darkness.
pulled him into the back lot of iHeart, so his car wouldn't be seen out in front of the iHeart studios. And
who's in charge of keeping up the parking lot at iHeart? Because I got to tell you, it is one of the worst Manscaped parking lots that I've ever seen.
It is. It's horrible.
It's a very old and tired. It looks like one of those malls that like 30% of the stores are open, like 70. Like there's no, there's like Penny's is closed down. Like the end caps on the mall are gone. It's just like, it's some florist that's just hanging on, and like, and like a pop-up comic book store. Yes, it is so ugly.
Yes, a pop-up comic book store that you probably want to shave off. And that's where we get into our sponsor here this week, as this
is your parking lot looking bad?
Yes, exactly. No, it's not you. Yeah, it's your parking lot down there. Is this episode of the Pewtercast is sponsored in part by Manscaped. Yes, Manscaped back with the Pewtercast again, as you know that when it comes to your health and your comfort, that's pretty important, especially as things get a little warm here. It's starting to get warm. You don't want to be sweaty and nasty down there. And Manscaped can help you with their grooming products, including the all-new, I talked about last week, the Lawnmower version 3.0. They have a version 4.0, which is now
they're cranking them out faster than iPhones.
Absolutely. So the new Manscaped Lawnmower version 4.0, and of course, all of their products to help you to go along with it. The new Lawnmower version 4.0 has wireless charging, which is, I think, very interesting. An improved ceramic blade and a longer battery life. Now, the battery life will last
for you all Greek fellows out there.
Exactly. And you can get yourself the new Lawnmower version 4.0 at a discount if you go to manscaped.com and use the promo code FANSIDED20. You'll get 20% off your order and free shipping. Again, go to manscaped.com, use the promo code FANSIDED20, get 20% off your order and free shipping thanks to Manscaped. Ren, this week we had a great interview done by the folks over at Pewter Report, their podcast and stream, very similar to ours, with one slight exception, and that is the fact that they were able to get Bruce Arians on with them this week for almost a full hour. I think Bruce did close to 45 minutes with them, which having listened to the Bruce Arians show during the season, you don't get Bruce for that long during the season.
You don't.
You get Bruce for if you're Casey Phillips for 20 minutes or so, if you're lucky, and then you move on to the assistants at that point, because Bruce has become a master of delegation, and we've known that for now a couple of years. And one of the things that I like to see from this interview this week was the path. And what I mean by that, and
what do you mean by the path?
I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. The way that the Buccaneers have gone throughout the franchise's history is they have worried about the day, but not so worried about that much about tomorrow. And for the first time, I feel like this franchise with Bruce Arians at the helm finally has a direction that they are heading towards in the future. Like you've seen the pirate ship out on the water for years and with no idea where it's going. It's where it is now and where it is tomorrow. Who knows? Who cares? We're only worried about today.
Go where the wind takes us.
Exactly. But now it seems like Bruce has everything on course, as I continue to use the nautical terms,
yes,
for the future. And by that, I mean the delegation that he's been able to do, and especially with how the role of Byron Leftwich has evolved and has taken shape over the course of the last 12 months. I'm curious to get your thoughts on what you heard from Bruce about that aspect.
Sure. First off, there's some loose ends we got to tie up. What the hell did you tell that journalist who DM'd you?
Oh, I told him that the perception of the Glazer family, as I mentioned, is up and down here. You know, when the team
when we win, it's good. When we lose, it's bad.
Well, yeah. Then we are a team. We are a group of fans that care about what's going on the field, because there's no relegation. There's no, in English soccer, you have to worry about, if the team doesn't perform well, if the Bucks don't perform well,
which I really like. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, like if the Bucks don't perform well, they're not going to the CFL, they're not going to the XFL, they're not going to the Arena League.
Right.
They're going to stay in the NFL. Whereas if Manchester United has a bad year and they finish at the bottom of the table in the Premier League, they get relegated to the next league down.
Yeah.
And so you have to, I think there's a lot more concern about, and all the money that comes with being in the Premier League that you lose by going down to the Championship division, the second tier of English soccer. And I think that that's part of the reason why, here we care more about the aspects on the field as opposed to and don't get me wrong, the stuff that goes on off the field can be important as well. The charitable organizations, but
this is a very long text message you sent.
I did. Well, that's why it was a DM. No, but it was like 3 or 4 of them, just to break it up. But it really does matter. They matter. When the team is doing well, the opinion of the Glazers is well. When they're not doing well, the opinion of the Glazers is not quite so good.
And did he say the same?
No, they just don't like the Glazers over there.
Is it just because they're Americans?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's a lot of it is the American, and the fact that they're trying to establish American type rules and leagues.
Oh yeah, how they're trying to switch to the NFL with that Super League stuff.
The Super League thing.
Yeah.
So they don't like that.
I don't blame them. I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad. I haven't looked into it enough to even say, but that's a big change, and soccer in England, like that's all there is. You know what I mean? Imagine like there just being one like really big sport in the United States. Like if we only just had baseball, or only just had basketball, or only just had hockey, like, and then after hundreds of years, and someone wants to come in and change it all just to put more money in their pockets, I can understand them getting mad. But back to BA.
Yes.
And his interview. What I wanted to talk about today was when you listen to that interview, it sort of dawned on me. And other interviews that you've sort of heard, you reference Casey's, the Bruce Arians show, where, like you said, she gets 2 or 3 questions in and then he's off. But if you've listened to all of BA's pressers, he would drop nuggets of sort of like, he's like I really don't do anything anymore. Like he does, like Byron does all the coaching. He calls all the plays. Everyone's like, yeah, right. And it's like, this is our offense. Tom's going to adjust to it. Yeah, right. No one believed him. And then for some reason, we win the Super Bowl. And now, of course, BA is, he's on Good Morning Football and he's on other people's podcasts. And he's been out there a lot more. There's much more attention laid on the Bucks. And he keeps saying these things. And what I find that has changed from him, being offensive coordinator and then being the head coach in Arizona, where he had a very hands-on, all his time during the week was game planning, and then during the game he had to concentrate on, of course, calling the plays and being 2-3 steps ahead. And then when the defense is on the field, he's talking to the quarterback and what they saw, and he's making a game plan for the next series. And now that where he has people that he trusts in those positions, he's just more like Galileo said that, God set the universe up like a watch, started it, and now it just sort of ticks and it just moves by itself. And that's kind of what BA's got going on now. Like if you listen to that Peter Report interview, he doesn't coach anymore. Now he's just a tone setter. Will jump in with a pat on the back, or jump in, with a yell at somebody. He told a story about Kyle Trask, how he rolled out and just kind of threw one up for grabs, and he just yelled no, like really, like no, like never, ever, ever, ever. And he goes, "You got it?" And Kyle looks at him and goes, "Yeah." And that's all he does now. Like,
don't ever do that, because Jameis Winston does that.
Yeah, like we have a guy that can do that. So we had a guy that could do that. He led me to my only losing season as a head coach ever. So it's with the style of when he came to the Bucs of being hands off, just sort of hand on the tiller. And yes, he has input in the offensive meetings, and I'm sure, Todd Bowles goes over with him about, what their plan is for the week defensively against this team and that team. But he doesn't, it's almost the polar opposite of Schiano. Like, he hired the right people and he lets them do their job, and they're doing their job. And plus there's all the players that has been drafted under BL. They all seem to have hit, and all the players are trending up. Even players that were here before.
Yeah.
Kappa trends up, Jensen's trending up, Donovan Smith now has gotten better each year. Instead of seeing, like, everyone's trending up. So with him trusting his coaches and his staff, it just seems to be really working for him, where he can just sit back and only have to step in with a comment or two, like I said, or a pat on the back. And that's what keeps us going, because he lets the leaders on the team, the players, the Tom Brady's, the JPPs, the Levante Davids, sort of keep the guys in line, and lets the coaches coach and trust them to get his offense right and get Todd Bowles' defensive right. And you can even reflect in Casey Rogers just won defensive line coach of the year. Like this seems to be really working for the Buccaneers and BA, this new style from, offensive coordinator and being the head coach of Arizona, just taking a step back and going, okay, you guys run the show. And if it goes off course a little bit, I'll step in, say something, do something. But besides that, it's your guys' show.
I think it helps when you have the right personnel in place. And I'm not saying that BA didn't have the right personnel in place in Arizona, and he didn't have the right personnel in place in Indianapolis, and he didn't have when he was the interim coach there. But I think that it's great to have that hands-off approach when you have the guys that and really it was a leap of faith from Bruce, I think. I think Bruce had to take a leap of faith and go, you know what?
Letting go of the wheel is scary.
Yeah. Chris has told me that I need to be able to delegate. I'm going to need to not do everything for my health. And, my doctors have told me that. Chris has told me that. And so but it is a leap of faith that you have to take, like you said, to take your hands off the wheel, to say, Jesus, take the wheel, and to have the goat show up.
Having the players really helps. And
personnel is big.
Yeah. And this is something I want to talk to you about, or bounce off you. It's like it's not only Tom Brady. Like if you had an Aaron Rodgers, or if you had a Pat Mahomes, or if you had a guy if you had a quarterback that basically didn't lose games for you, just like a top half, someone who is not careless with the football and makes, good decisions.
So a game manager,
or better. So, and I think it's one of the reasons why they drafted Trask, because they really like that type of thing. Like, they're like, we're good enough coaches, we have good enough players, where a player like Kyle Trask, as long as you don't lose the game for us, we're going to win a lot of games.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's not necessarily having Tom Brady. It's having a player that is a leader like Tom Brady. So you have to have the correct leaders in place. You have to have the right people. And you see this in the draft. Jason Light has talked about how, like, we don't miss on the player, we miss on the person. And, like, we do this for a living. Like, we know the guy can play or he can't play. What we're getting better at, and you can really see it in these last two drafts, is the type of person they're coming in. Like, now they know they're going to come in and work hard. They're going to go the extra step. They, quote unquote, something, we like to say as fans, is like that player just doesn't get it. He has everything handed to him on a platter, and he's just pissing away. So, like, a lot of these things were said about Antonio Brown.
Yeah, the $1 million body and the 10-cent brain.
Yes, there you go. So with them now putting a lot more emphasis on the person, maybe just as much as well as the player, these are the people that are coming in, and it helps you, a lot easier. You definitely have to have the pieces in places, because if we want to go back to the nautical ship thing, I can stand there and just hold the wheel, and make little adjustments right and left, but I need a guy to raise the sails. I need the guy, in the crow's nest. I need the team that loads the cannons.
Yeah, you need the team that pumps the bilge, the water out of the bilge, so the ship stays afloat.
Yeah, I need the cook, man.
Exactly. It is all about personnel, and not just specific personnel, but personnel, the right personnel in the right places, and having the right coordinators, having the right position coaches, and being able to recognize when a coach may not be the prototypical, as I use the air quotes, the same old in that case.
Right.
You don't have the fat guy being the offensive line coach. You don't have the big tough guy as the linebackers coach. You don't, and Richard Taraoka on YouTube talking about BA being trailblazing, having African-American coordinators, having full-time female coaches, the woman in football thing. It is, what he's done outside of the 53 and a third yards that are lined with paint is amazing. And he's been able to use what goes on outside of those 53 and a third yards to help with what goes on in those 53 and a third yards. And I think that's probably going to be the lasting legacy of Bruce Arians with this Tampa Bay Buccaneers franchise. Is, you won a Super Bowl. That's fantastic. The fact that this franchise is now on the path for long-term success and continued, I don't want to say importance, but you look at it, they're going to be relevant in more ways than just wins on the football field.
Yeah. They're, Richard uses the word trailblazing, I think, in his YouTube comment there, and we've talked about that a lot. And it's like BA like hires with a blindfold on. He said it many times, and it's so simple. And you think that, and I'm sure there's lots of other people and lots of other businesses that do that. You just, like, it doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter, what gender you are. It doesn't matter if you're a dog or a cat person, or you have antennas or a tail. Like, you hire who you think is the best person for the job. And, with BA doing that, it has brought in, a few, handful of women coaches. And this is something that he's been doing these talks and these women in football seminars for years now. It's just becoming more and more relevant because when you win, all of a sudden now everything you do has to be is, of course, you're doing it right because you're winning. My question to you is, do you think if BA got a head coaching job, because he wanted to be a head coach for a long time, and there was a lot of talk about, it's just the way he is. He's maybe a little too loose or a little too crude or not, polished enough around the edges, was something that held him back, not being like, if you ask him a question, he's going to tell you honestly about it. And instead of dancing around it, those are some things that would get you in trouble, or maybe owners are like, oh, I can't, I don't, he's going to have more problems than more bad than good, with those type of things that held him out. But when he finally did get the job, and being in the NFL for so long and being in different places and meeting so many people, I think, and I want to know if you agree with me on that is why he's been able to sort of just step back and put his hand on the tiller now than if he got a coaching job, say like 10 years ago, because he wouldn't have those relationships and wouldn't have, those people that he trusts. And he's trusted these guys for years. So, do you think BA not getting a head coaching job earlier now was the easiest or the right path for him to be able to get the position he is now?
Yeah, it's amazing that you think that way, because I think that if Bruce Arians had gotten a head coaching job, say at age 49, as opposed to age 59, I think that he would have been a much different coach.
Yeah,
because I think that as a younger man, and as someone that would have been not a young head coach, we're not talking like Sean McVay style head coach,
right?
But 49, you're on the bottom half. You're on the bottom half of age.
That's kind of right around the age where most people get their
first
shot.
And I think that a 49-year-old Bruce Arians probably would have been a lot more political in his answers. I think that 49-year-old head coach Bruce Arians would have been a little more I think that it would have been different. He would be a much different head coach.
He would have been a little more open, or be able to be swayed by outside forces such as the GM and the owners, because it was something he wanted so bad. And it's like, oh, look, we're going to give it to you, but we're taking this chance, but you got to cool it.
Yeah. And you've got to play the game,
right?
You've got to play our game. You've got to be political. You got to do this. You got to do that. You can't be you. You have to be us.
Right.
And
when he got passed over. Now he's 59.
Now he's like, the hell with it.
Right.
And
this is my shot. I'm doing it my way.
This is me. Yeah, I'm me. If you don't like it, and I like to compare Bruce Arians to another guy who got who got his first start here in Tampa Bay in another sport, and that's Joe Madden. If Joe Madden had gotten a manager's position, and he was the bench coach in Anaheim for years. He was in the Angels organization from the early 80s all the way up until 2005. And if Joe had gotten a manager's job in, say, 1995 instead of 2005, he would have been a much different manager than he was coming here to the Rays and saying, you know what, this is me. And if I fail this time, I know that I failed being me, instead of being a younger guy and going, I want to be a successful manager, and I'll play the game. And I think that's and you want to talk about two guys that are two peas in the same pod.
Oh yeah.
Bruce Arians and Joe Madden are maybe the most similar, on-field heads that I've ever seen.
I would love to watch those two guys have a conversation.
I think that they have. I
What
forget.
they sit, like in a library with a bunch of leather and wood,
Yeah,
and they had
and like
drinks.
like they had wine
Yeah,
and
man, of course, had wine, and of course, BA was, had his special reserve crown or something.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So and those two guys will talk you know. I thought that the conversation that BA had with the Pewter Report guys was great, and I bet that if they had wanted, he would have done another hour with them. If all things being said, because
right.
those I'm sure that you don't get an opportunity, you know when you're a head coach or something like that, your time is so valuable, but you get to a point where you're like, man, I could talk shop, those
Yeah,
guys could talk shop all day.
yeah, like he was definitely enjoyed himself. And and it was a lot of stuff that you heard before, but what really stuck out to me was again, it's kind of what this whole conversation about is how much he just lets his coaches coach, and his coaches let the leaders and the players lead. And again, it's kind of like I don't know, like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, man. Like he's he's the face of the team, and but
You
as
calling
far
everybody else Oompa Loompas?
yeah, but as far as but the thing, the factory goes off without a hitch, and and he just sort of like sets the tone and makes the slight course adjustments just by just by either tuning out a guy or patting a guy on the back. So I mean, and here's one thing I want to say, like, I'm not advocating like this is the only way you can run an organization or this is the only way you can win. But with BA and going through his story and his NFL coaching career, like it's just sort of all culminated and it's all coming together and it's all working right now. And I just want everyone to really understand that the reason it's working is because he lets his employees and his players do their thing, and you need that guy at the top, because it's one of those, you see, you've heard these things like, the manager or the head coach is taking the fire for the player, like, the 4 downs with Brady, like, like Bruce kind of took a little heat for that. Oh no, it was me, that type of deal. So you need sort of the face to get, the questions and all the pressers and, all the media requests, and he's taking a lot off the plate of the coaches by being the face of this and letting his guys do his guys. And again, kudos to him, he's found the right guys, and all the players are trending up, and everything the Bucs do now seems to be working out. So it's really working for him with that slight change of he's still the same person he was in Arizona, but now stepping back, it just seems to be clicking for him. And it might be like, even though he's a great offensive coordinator and play caller, just might be the best role for him. He might be more valuable or the best value for an organization in the position he is in now, which is less involved, but more, like I said, again, probably like 7 times, steering the organization in the right direction.
Yeah, he's got his hand. He's got his hands on the wheel by not having his foot on the gas as well.
Right.
So
right.
It is.
There's no gas pedal on a ship, but
exactly. Just the sales are full, and for once in this franchise's history, it seems like it's going in the right direction, and it looks like it's heading in the right direction long term. And
you said you got out. I don't mean to cut you off, but you said that I want to talk about this before we sort of move on. You said that you got out, and you alluded to it in the opening about how you think that the organization is set up. Like, you think what you got out of that Pewter Report interview was that Byron Leftwich Bruce is priming Byron Leftwich and sort of saying it out loud that when he steps away, you think that Byron's the guy that's going to step in.
I certainly do. The way that Bruce talked about Byron and the evolution of Byron's role over the course of the last 12 months, talking about having him, he led all the meetings, he led everything that involved, that side. There was almost no influence whatsoever from Bruce. And I think that's the sign of someone having the confidence in you to say, you know what, you can do the whole thing. You don't need me here. And I think that you could be the guy. Now he talked about how pissed off he was that Byron didn't get an opportunity to interview at all this past year,
right?
This past off season.
So that's sort of my question. Like, if you think Byron's the guy that's all set up to get there, like the Bucks need to move on this, because it seems to me that Bruce is also like, I want him to have a head coaching job somewhere else as soon as possible. And same with Todd Bowles. But again, in the future, there's guys in the hopper, like there's Clyde Christensen, like right behind Byron Leftwich, that might be able to step up in him. What is it? Keith Armstrong, might be able to step up into the defensive coordinator's role, or a couple of other people. So,
yeah, like you could have Casey Rogers end up as a defensive coordinator.
Right.
If Todd decides to go somewhere else, next year, could Casey Rogers be the person that you go, okay, now it's your turn. You've had an opportunity working with the best defensive line in all of football. Now you're going to have to deal with the other, 6 to 7 guys, or 8 guys that are away from the line. So
what do the Bucks do? I mean, do you just like, if Byron goes, he goes?
If Byron goes, he goes. Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to hold him back, but
which one is this? Like, I'm not trying to pin you down here, but you're saying, I got out of the interview, Byron Leftwich is the next head coach of the Buccaneers. And then now you're saying, if he goes, he goes. I mean,
I think Byron is the next head coach of the Buccaneers if he wants it. But if he wants it, he's got to stay. And I think it would make sense that if you're, I mean, he's never even had an interview as a head coach.
Yeah, no, he hasn't. Well, and to be fair, he's only been an offensive coordinator for what, 40 games?
Yeah.
So
again, he's going to get opportunities to interview, and if he feels that being the head coach in Denver, I'll just use Denver as a hypothetical. Let's just say
one place he won't go is the Jets.
Yeah. But let's throw the hypothetical out there that John Elway calls next offseason and says, sure, I want to interview. He'd be stupid to say no
for the quarterback position.
For that, yeah, really. We want to talk to you about being our next head coach.
Sure.
He's stupid to say no.
No, of course, yeah.
But then he's going to have that conversation, and then he's going to have to go back and think about and talk with his family. Is this the right fit for me? And if he feels like it is the right fit, he'll go. And if he feels that if it's not the right fit and he wants to stay and he feels like he would be better off staying in Tampa Bay, he'll stay as Tampa Bay's offensive coordinator.
Do you think it's something that okay, say this happens and he goes, yeah, I think this is a good opportunity for me. Do the Bucks step in and go, hey, wait, like, you think that's a good opportunity? Look at our team. Like the sooner you can talk a BA into retiring, the sooner you can be the head coach here.
I'm curious to see, and BA said, he didn't tie himself to Tom. I'm going to continue to coach as long as I feel good.
Yeah, that was interesting. And he even said like, yeah, like like I'd be up for having like developing another young quarterback, or be able to hands on another young quarterback, which is weird because he just got finished saying that he doesn't do anything. Like during rookie minicamp, he said like Tom Moore and Clyde Christensen and Byron Leftwich, like almost every player were on top of Kyle Trask, and he just kind of just stood there and let them do the thing. And he actually he actually made a joke about how he was being overcoached. Like, let him have a few plays, let him go. Like, let him, like, let's not correct every little thing, on every play. But, yeah, so I kind of got mixed messages from BA there too. I guess not, because no one's really asked him. I mean, it was a 3-year deal. No, 5-year deal.
Yeah.
It was a 5-year deal, but he did say that, I think someone asked him, and it was during his first year, like, what would have to happen for you not to, work, besides health reasons, not to finish his contract? He goes, I don't know, maybe if we win the Super Bowl in the first 2 years, which he did.
He did.
So he's back, but that could be any time. So, he's saying, well, as long as I'm having fun, I want to go to work, and it's, I look forward to going to work, then I'll do that. But I mean, then you have to also sort of think as someone who BA does feel personally responsible for his coaches.
Mhm.
Like, even though you're having fun, like, would you let Byron Leftwich go to Denver instead of stepping aside and letting him take your job?
Well,
And taking some type of other, job with the Buccaneers, some kind of capacity or whatever.
I just think it would be hilarious, because I'm sure that Byron would go to Jason Light and the Glazer family and go, they've offered me the head coaching job, and they may go, don't take it,
Yeah.
and they may slide a, they don't have to announce that Byron is going to be the head coach in waiting, but I think
Right.
you can almost guarantee that if he gets an interview and it comes out that he was offered a head coaching position, he turned it down, there's only one reason why.
No.
Only one.
No.
Really? You
Yeah.
don't think that if he were to go
Gary
interview
Kubiak turned down head coaching positions like for years before he finally went to the Texans. Like, I would, like, if I was a coach of the NFL, there's organizations I would not go to. One is the Jets. It used to be before the older Spanos died, who owns the LA Chargers. Like, I would never have gone there. Detroit is probably a place I would not, as a first-time head coach, and depending on what kind of coaching staff I could bring together, Detroit would be a place that I would not be excited to, like, I'd have to really think about it.
I wouldn't want to go to the Bears as a first-time head coach.
Yeah, or the Giants, being in that market and getting chewed up by that media,
Yeah,
I can do that.
Yeah, New York. For me, if I'm a first-time NFL, if I'm going to be a first-time NFL head coach, Jets, Giants, Bears, Lions. Trying to think as I go through. Cowboys, you're not really in charge as the head coach.
Yeah, that would be another place I wouldn't want to go.
So that's probably the place as well. I
wouldn't want to go to Washington. Not right now.
Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder's an awful owner.
Yeah.
Awful owner. I wouldn't want to go there. So what I'm saying is Philadelphia would be a pain. But
I don't think I want to go to Philadelphia. That's just personal reasons.
Yeah,
like being a Bucs fan my whole life, like I just couldn't do it. Like I couldn't. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if I'm good enough to be offered a head coaching job, someone else will offer it. So back to our point, where saying that Byron Leftwich turns down a coaching gig, the only reason is not because the Bucs have offered him the coach and waiting gig. It just might not be for him.
Would be interesting. To
Now
see.
we'll definitely talk about it and say that's the reason why.
Yeah, of course. We'll throw that speculation out there. We
Yeah.
got no shame in doing that.
We'll run with it forever.
Absolutely. If Byron, just know that if you get a head coaching offer and you turn it down,
It's
we know the reason.
We know why.
We know
why.
You ain't kidding us. Let's put it that way. Hey, you mentioned a lot about rookie minicamp. I want to get into your thoughts on what happened at the Advent Health Training Center here for rookie minicamp, and we'll do that here in just a moment when the PeterCast continues. So rookie minicamp is in the books, Ren, and I want to get your thoughts on it. I know that you were able to get in on some of the conversations that took place in the Zoom room over those 2 days. The first thing that I think most people will go, okay, is that Joe Tryon did not take part of anything on the field. Of course, knee procedure was not cleared physically to participate in rookie minicamp. For you, is that a big deal?
No, not at all. No. The sneaky thing that the Bucs did, and they did this a little bit last year, was that they had him in a Zoom meeting before the first practice, and then they go out there and he's not practicing. And now the media is like, what's it? It was like, so the opportunity for them to ask Joe Tryon about his knee and when it was hurt and how he hurt it, and did the Bucs know pre-draft, and when you're going to be, like, all those things, those questions they would ask coming out of the horse's mouth, and the whole interview or Zoom interview, whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to connect Zoom and interview together.
Zoom interview.
That's Zoom interview. I'm trying to make it one word.
A Zoom meeting.
Zoom meeting. There we go. Zoom meeting. Thank you. Okay. So the Tryon Zoom meeting wouldn't be totally dominated by his knee question. So kudos to the Bucs again for thinking ahead.
Sneaky Buccaneers.
Sneaky bastards. And now rookie minicamp's over, and Joe Tryon is no longer in the city, or maybe is, but the media can't ask him these questions. So that was cool. BA said that they knew about it. They said he got injured when he was training, and Zoom a view, Richard says. No, that's stupid, Richard. So it's not a big deal. We'll see. BA said that he'll be back might be back for OTAs, but probably not going to push it. We're probably not going to see Tryon, on the field until training camp, which is fine. We're not going to see. I have a feeling we're not going to see a lot of guys on the field till training camp, which again is fine. Because really all it is even though he can't participate in walkthroughs, because technically if he's injured, he can't participate. So that's that. But he could have walked through with the guys, and it's the meetings, and it's how much you can retain. It's getting the playbook, and that's all that rookie minicamp's about. And same thing with OTAs. Sure, reps, but not for what OTAs and rookie minicamp and those type of things, those non-contact camps are, which there are 3 of them. It's really it's for DBs and receivers and linebackers and quarterbacks. And that's really it. Like, there's, offensive line, you can't tell anything. Defensive line, you can't tell anything. Obviously, Joe Tryon's an edge, so it really doesn't matter. So a very long-winded answer is no, I am not worried about Joe Tryon's knee, because the Bucs knew about it, and they know what's going on with it.
Yeah, you mentioned that you can't really tell much from rookie minicamp about offensive linemen, but what you can tell about offensive linemen is when they are in a new position, like Robert Hainsey was during rookie minicamp, playing center and getting worked on by new offensive line assistant AQ Shipley, who is now a part of the coaching staff. It's good to see AQ sticking around. Good dude. I think that this is going to be. I think this is a big test for Hainsey because, well, I mean, you really don't have a true backup center. You've got, your backup center right now is Ali Marpet,
or is it Hainsey?
Yeah,
I love Ali. Ali can't play center, and it's not that he can't block or make the calls. He can't snap. He can't. How many worm burners did he shoot back to Jameis Winston? And we just all overlooked it because we like Allie.
Yeah.
Like, he was not a good. The one job that a center has to do, besides make the line calls and do his job as blocking, is hike the ball, get the ball back to his quarterback. And he must have sent 8 to 12 worm burners. Like at least one a game, sometimes two. It was. Yeah. So anyway, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, is Allie really the backup center? I don't know.
Oh, well, I think that this only helps a guy like Hainsey to make sure that he is active every week.
Yeah.
I mean, you want and it was funny going back to the BA interview, talking about trading the 32nd pick. You and I, when we did our mocks, we both traded 32 for stuff that happened for picks in the following season.
We did.
But and I thought it was interesting that BA didn't put a whole lot of thought into.
Did you see where your first round draft pick was actually drafted?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I'm sure it was like day 3.
It was.
Yeah, I'm sure it was day 3. Yeah, and how about the picture? And I, you know what? I'm gonna save what what I was gonna ask you for when we get done with rookie minicamp.
Sure.
This happens to be about another team's rookie minicamp. But I mean, for me, for Hainsey, this is about making sure that you're active that you can be on the active roster and you're not inactive for games, and you can do that by versatility and availability. And I think that's part of why you want him practicing his snapping now under the guidance of AQ Shipley. Yeah,
I'm not exactly sure what it was. Jabril Cox, no Saint. That was Carney's first round pick.
Yeah, I know.
So, okay, just answering a little question in chat. BA said in his presser, like, we know he can play guard, which is weird because how do you know that? Because he only started at right tackle in college, but we need to see if he can play center. Now, you're not going to get anything out of rookie minicamp. I kind of think that since there was only like 26 guys out there, it was just lacks of bodies. Like, we want this guy to develop. Here's the interesting part. Ryan Jensen is a free agent next year. Ryan Jensen is, like we talked about, really the only center on the team. Now, if Hainsey's role moves from center during training camp, then we'll kind of know that the Bucs are possibly looking to extend Ryan Jensen, or plans in the future, or they like Hainsey at a better spot. But if Hainsey now in rookie minicamp, who's being the center, which, getting those reps and not worm burning the ball is good for him.
Mm-hmm.
But if he stays at center in training camp, then that gives you a clue into if Hainsey can, step up and actually, like you said, get dressed on. I think he's going to, if he makes a team, which I think he's going to make the team.
Yeah.
I think he's going to dress every Sunday because BA talked about how he can play all 5 positions. Now, most people say he can play 4, which is both guard, center, and right tackle, not necessarily left tackle. But having a guy that the coaching staff thinks that can play all 5, you have to dress him. You have to dress him. Like, it's saving you a roster spot for game day. So
yeah.
I think the most interesting part about Hainsey is, like I said, is going to be in training camp. And if they keep him at center, then that kind of tells you a little bit about what the Bucs plans are for Ryan Jensen in the future.
Yeah. Whether he's going to be an outside offensive lineman or an interior offensive lineman for the most part.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. And what did you think of the whole thing involving Jalen Darden? They're
Jalen Darling.
Oh, excuse me, Jalen Darden. Yeah, Jalen Darling, as you called him during the draft.
No, I did not. You did.
Did I?
Yeah, that's why I started calling.
You that. I thought you did it. You did it, and I was.
No.
And I thought you did it initially.
You said Jalen Darling.
Whatever.
Oh, David Darling.
Yes.
Anyway, yes,
Jalen Darden. I was making sure that I said it right this time, and you screwed me up, Ren. You screwed me up there. It's not the first time, won't be the last. But Jalen Darden, a lot was made about him being. I think that having only one quarterback there, having only Kyle Trask there, is part of what went on there. But I think this is the guy, especially with how thick that wide receiver room is going to be. I mean, when you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown and Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson, and then you get into guys, your special teamers, your Justin Watsons, your Jadon Mickens, and that group, Darden becomes, the thought becomes, is Darden going to be the guy instead of one or both of the last two guys I mentioned, the Watsons or to me, Justin Watson is an anathema anyway. It's kind of a mystery. He's never healthy.
Watson?
Isn't it Watson that was never?
No, he's fine. He's fine.
But
anyway.
for Watson, I thought Justin Watson was the one that always got hurt in training. No,
maybe. I mean, I my memory's a little fuzzy back to like 2019, but he was healthy all of last year. I mean, the real injury guy is, of course, Jack Sitchy. He steps out of the shower and breaks 4 bones in his feet. He's made of glass.
Poor Jack.
I'm sorry, he's just
Jack.
made of glass.
No, but I mean, I think Darden is in that mix with a mix.
I think Darden makes the team because they're going to do everything he can to make him the punt returner, possibly the kickoff returner too. BA talked about how he's really natural at catching the punt. He's really natural at catching the ball. Everything that, they drafted him for, you saw in rookie minicamp, which was like, not only does he not slow down coming in and out of breaks, he actually accelerates coming in and out of breaks, which gets his separation. He led the NCAA in separation. Now, granted, he plays for North Texas in whatever conference they play in, but hey,
that's Conference USA.
Yeah. So, well, what is that anymore? I mean, that conference. I mean, not saying what is that anymore. It's just like I don't even know who's in Conference USA anymore.
Yeah,
because I remember. Yeah, because it's like the Bulls.
And I'm only guessing that it's Conference USA.
Right. So he's probably playing like teams like Tulsa, and Bowling Green and things like that. But anyway, everything that they saw and thought he would be. So I think he makes the team. Because of the speed and what he can bring on special teams. Justin Watson, it's a big year for him. I thought last year was a big year for him. He started out okay, got some passes thrown, Tom threw to him, but both Tom's pick sixes were out routes to Justin Watson. And after that second one, you never saw him on the field offensively again. Even though he led the team in special team tackles as a gunner. And BA talked about it in the Peter Report interview that, because of where they were depth wise and some injuries that, the last part of the season and the playoffs, he just couldn't get him dressed. They liked Justin Watson, but they couldn't get him dressed. So I think he's the bubble guy. I think Mickens is out, but Darling is everything to be advertised so far in rookie minicamp. Now we'll see, when he starts going up against the Jamel Deans and the Carlton Davis. And the biggest thing that I want to see with Darling is that are they going to have to play him off the line of scrimmage where it gives him that little cushion 1 or 2 yards so he can use his feet and his speed to be able to get past guys on press man? Or is he going to be good enough with his feet and speed to be able to play on the line of scrimmage where, the cornerback or the defender is, a half a yard away from him? Like, we'll be able to get off the line there. And if he can do that, then you're looking at a guy who's going to be versatile in the offense, and they'll probably put packages in for him. And he'll be someone who's like big player bust as well as your punt returner and possibly kickoff returner.
Yeah, I'm with Justin Watson. You mentioned the pick sixes. All I keep thinking of is that Justin Watson is Tom Brady's Austin Collie to Peyton Manning. I don't know if you've heard that the Pat McAfee told the story about how Peyton Manning during a game, and I forget if this was in a preseason game or if it was in a regular season game. He was throwing an out route, and it wasn't the best thrown pass. And Austin Collie made a one-handed catch, and Peyton went over and read him the riot act. He's like, "You put two hands on that football. I don't need any of that one-handed bull crap. If it was a little off, you die for that ball, but I want two hands on that football, or you will never be on the field with me again." And he was like, and he was not kidding. So I would, so a couple of pick sixes.
No, sir. I did hear the one where he talked about how it seems closer. It was like, sort of like that. It was an out route, and the receiver dove for it and caught it. And, he got back up and came to the huddle. And as he's walking back to the huddle, Peyton, this is me. Out. You can't really see. Yeah. He's just pointing to the sidelines with his head down, like, get out, get out, get out. And so the receiver, who was a rookie, turns around and goes to the sidelines, and the offensive coordinator is like, what?
Yeah, that's the same story, but Austin Collie made a one-handed catch, and Peyton was mad. Peyton was mad that he didn't catch it with two hands.
Yeah, so the offensive coordinator's like, it's like, you're in. He's like, I don't think so, coach. He's like, no, you're in, go. And he starts to walk back on the field, and Peyton just points to the sideline again. Like, nope, you're out. You're out. And so, that was the one I heard. Must be. And then I guess after they got off the field, he went over there and yelled at him for making a one-handed catch, which is something I like to do all the time, especially on my dart team. What, right. Triple bull? You only get triple bull when I tell you to get triple bull. Like,
yeah, we need those 100. We need those 180s. I don't care if you get an 8 dart checkout.
Yeah, what are you talking about? We need a double 18s there.
Triple bull. Come on, man. But
I'm not on a dart team, by the way.
No, it wouldn't surprise me though. You have the coordination for it.
Yeah, to throw a dart. Thanks.
That's right. It's a lot harder than you think.
No, it's not. We're not going to get into darts and bunting and all that kind of stuff. It's not hard to throw a dart. If you can't throw a dart, you just can't throw. Period. Like, that's it, and that's fine. No big deal.
So what else did you take away from rookie minicamp?
That was really about it. To be honest, the linebackers were, again, you can't see much from, KJ Britt and Grant Stewart. They were vocal. Everyone kind of likes them. They're going to be football players. They both understand right away that, they need to make it on special teams or they can't. I thought it was interesting that the Bucs signed like 2 veteran special teamers, basically. I think in Joe Johnson and Raven Steele, something like that. Anyway, they're both like very excellent special teamers, and that's how they've kind of made their way in the league, and they've been around a while. So the Bucs are really, sort of what they did day 3, that they're attacking the special teams. Like, I'm kind of really excited to see punt, kickoff, recovered, kick return, punt return this year, because they're really emphasizing it and putting a lot of, well, I shouldn't say it. Yeah, they are. They're putting a lot of not capital, but they're putting a lot of effort into it, because it's really not a lot of capital, but they're putting a lot of thought and bringing in a lot of players to improve the special team side of the ball. Wilcox,
because you've got your 22 starters back.
Yeah. Wilcox, the cornerback from BYU, was kind of sort of non-existent. We don't know. He definitely has the size. The Navy cornerback who had a pick 6 and a pass breakup in those 2 days. He's like this. He's a good size. I think he's like 6'2", 210. And the people that they signed from the tryouts are all veterans, quote unquote veterans. I think they brought in 4 veterans and signed 3 of them. So that's kind of like where the Bucs are going. They're adding experience with a mix of youth and depth, and really heavily, like, if you're going to make this team, you need to play special teams. Not only play special teams, you need to be really good at special teams. Mm-hmm. And that's all kind of what came out of rookie minicamp, except for the injury updates where Bruce Arians said OJ Howard, he sees him every day because he's using the Buccaneers facility for rehab. He's doing great. Can't wait to get him back. Everyone else is on track, like Kappa. Everyone else, he says everyone's on track. And of course, the biggest news is probably AB, who agreed to terms hadn't signed the contract. No one really knew. It finally came out in the Pewter Report interview with Bruce Arians was that he had some work to do on his knee. Actually, I think that happened today or yesterday. And once he passed the physical after the surgery, then BA will sign his contract. And that's it, everybody. We're up to date.
Yeah, I think the other thing about AB was the fact that he had never had surgery before.
Yeah, when he said that, I was like, really?
That surprised me.
Yeah.
So I would have thought that, everybody in the NFL has had this, that, or the other. They've had some sort of procedure done, whether it's a scope on the knee or a little thing on the
or like
shoulder.
All of us,
yeah,
like all of us, like I don't think so many at one point or another. So everybody I know broke a bone before they turned 20. Like somebody had a cast on. At one point in your life, it happened when you were 3 or you're 6 or you're 20. Like I don't know. Like I've had like 3 surgeries and I've never had anything majorly happen to me, like a car accident.
Yeah,
fix my nose, but
or play in the NFL.
Or and if you're like you played football forever since you could walk almost, and you've never like had any not to fix a finger or nothing. It's weird.
That was very, very strange, but that'll do it for this week's episode of the Pewter Cast. Before we get on out of here, Ren, it's time for the Ren Addiction. Where can people find you?
Best place to find me is on Twitter at Rendax, REN_DAXT. But the best place to find me is at the Pewtercast on Twitter. I have almost completely abandoned Rendax as my tweeting profile. But when the season starts, I'll get back at it. So don't leave, or you can. Doesn't really matter.
Just come back.
Yeah, whatever. You'll see me. Doesn't matter. So the best place to find me is at the Pewtercast on Twitter. THEPEWTERCST. I think I got it right. If you want to talk Buccaneers football, find me there. But if your take is too hot, feel free to slide in my DMs and I can talk Buccaneers football with you there as well too.
Absolutely. And you can follow me on social media. I am at Steve Carney right there. If you're watching on the stream, and then of course, for your favorite baseball team coverage, of course, we've got stpete9.com and of course the pewtercast.com.
Yes.
Pewtercast.
How are the Rays doing?
Live. They've won 6 in a row
nice.
Now. So
they got rid of that
Yoshi
anchor
guy.
Yeah,
yes, they got rid of Yoshi and have not lost since.
He was always my least favorite Mario character.
It's because he always had Mario on his back. But yes, Yoshi is gone and the Rays have won 6 in a row, and hopefully we'll sweep the Baltimore Orioles. That gets going here in about 3 or 4 minutes. So
okay,
we're gonna get right to that.
Steve's gotta go.
That's why we're getting on out of here. So again, check out the pewtercast.com, the pewtercast.live. Subscribe to the Pewtercast if you're listening to the podcast. Thank you so much. Leave us ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify and on Google Play and all the places where you can get your favorite podcasts. So thank you so much for joining us here again this week. And until next time, Ren, you ready?
No.
Of course he's not ready.
I'm ready.
All right, you ready? Until next time, go buck yourself.